There you go. What were you going to say
No,
right before we hit record there, Clef, about our good friends at Microsoft?
that Microsoft is kind of fucking over Xbox gamers. Hey, apparently I can't say it. Let's
Oh my
go.
gosh.
And I guess I'm hosting the show now because reasons. Heyo, Yokoso, which means welcome if you're new and welcome back if you're not. Tonight, we are talking the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X because we just learned some more information about it at Gamescom. And I've got no better people to talk about this than my panelists here. Please introduce yourselves to Microsoft, my friends.
Phil, I'm Clef.
How you doing, Tadella? I'm Jeeve.
Hey, it's Zach from Hands Turn.
Thank you, everyone. That was something that just works. And Todd Howard will be very proud to know that, his Bethesda games will just work on an Xbox Ally and an Xbox Ally X. Well, actually, maybe not the Xbox Ally based on the specs that we know about it, because it has the Ryzen Z2A, which is technically the Aerith Plus, an overclocked Steam Deck APU, as far as we know anyway, but nobody at Microsoft is going to talk to us, so we cannot confirm that, I don't think anyway. So as this date is getting closer, we now have actual launch date times, which I believe is October 16th. So are you gentlemen pre-ordering this device? Make sure you answer with all the enthusiasm of a real Xbox fan. Oh, there it is. There it is.
So no enthusiasm.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
cut
Yeah.
that, cut that.
What Xbox fan? But I'll go first. No, I'm not pre-ordering this. Not either one. It doesn't really speak to me. A part of me is confused on the product itself. It feels like a very vain and just kind of, I don't want to say mean-spirited, but kind of not out of character either. It just feels like a weird attempt to hang on to that Xbox legacy. It feels hollow. I'll say that. It really rings hollow for me. And we'll get into this later, but Microsoft really made me mad with the Z2A APU to begin with, because little people know this, but they actually commissioned the original Steam Deck APU. AMD spent millions, close to billions in R&D. Then they dropped the project, left them hanging in the bag for Valve to come in and buy it. And now they've come back to claim the silicon as their own. That, for some reason, that really, really just grinds my gears. So no, Microsoft, I will not be pre-ordering either one. And it's a laundry list of reasons for me. I could go on all night.
Ooh. Well, I think you painted a really nice picture for us. Maybe that picture is a little too green for some, especially those that are lacking in cash, but I don't know, like Clef, do you feel the same way?
I'm torn. I'm torn. The thing is, I've been struggling with Microsoft for the last couple of years. I feel like I was not being catered to as a gamer. They basically have dropped the licenses in terms of games. It was tough. Now, knowing that Asus is behind the hardware is giving me a little bit of a spark. I like what they're doing with the grips. And that's the thing. Like, yes, I like games, I play games, but in the recent years, I've been way more into hardware than I've ever been in my life. And so if there's one reason for me to pre-order, it's gonna be the hardware, which gets me excited. I'm excited to get my hands on Z2A and Z2EAI, I'm sorry, and test it. I'm excited to see that front-loaded OS, even though there's a lot of things that the Fox in his video confirmed for me that are like, but nonetheless, I'm still excited to get my hands on it. So for that reason, honestly, I still need time. So it's a good thing that it's only happening in October 16th. My mind is not made. It'll happen what comes out in terms of marketing, how they promote that thing, and we'll see. We'll see.
All right, you've definitely said a lot, I think, that we need to consider. There's definitely some direction I want to go with that. But what about you, Zach? Are you sharing the sentiments here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence. Actually, I'd say I'm probably, in the opposite shoes of Clef. Like, the hardware's not really doing it for me. Like, I am actually really interested in the software side of this, and see how they implement it. And if it's good, it's good. Say like the original ROG Ally or even the Ally X. We talk about like 1% lows and stuff like that, stability, whatever. I'm sure we're going to get into it later. But as long as if they make it more Steam Deck like, OS wise, like it's definitely it's gonna do something. But for right now, I don't know. We just got to really see it in action, really see it in act, like out in the wild before I'm sold on it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair position to have. And the both of you are kind of touching on something that I think a lot of people are curious about. But just as a refresher for those who didn't bother or haven't checked the pre order page or initial landing page of the Xbox Ally in the first place, there are the two SKUs. The Z2A, that's the Aerith version that we're talking about, or the Aerith Plus version, I should say. This version has 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage. It has USB 3.2 Gen 2, so there's no USB 4, which means you cannot connect it to an eGPU, the same as the original ROG Ally. And then there's the other higher SKU, which is the ROG Ally, Xbox Ally X, which has 24 gigs of RAM. It has the Z2E AI edition, and it also has 1 terabyte of storage. So that higher spec one, which I would guess, if leave me a comment down below or hop on our Discord and tell me that I'm wrong, that I think most of the people that are watching this right now are more interested in that one than the lower SKU one, simply because the lower SKU one, they probably already had a Steam Deck, or you could just buy Steam Deck right now and get 90 or 95% of that experience as is. So that other 5% of that experience, though, that we're talking about is that Xbox full screen mode that you were just alluding to, Zach. So what, if anything, did we learn from that? Did you see something new from that, Clef? From all this
Yeah,
Gamescom talk?
quite a few things that we kind of touched base on in previous videos, things that we have talked in private settings. One of the big questions for me that I always was on the camp of, I'm not sure that Microsoft will allow us to run Steam and to run Epic Store and GOG on their front-loaded operating system, or Xbox full screen, as you call it. And turns out that is correct. We won't be able to. Like, you're going to be able to run any games that are Xbox Store, or, well, Microsoft Windows Xbox Store, just to clarify, not the Xbox console, just to make sure I don't make anyone's hope go up when in fact it's not the case. But that Game Pass is going to be fine. And they have confirmed that, for example, if you run Fall Guys, which needs Epic Store to run, it will be able to boot the app in the background, and that'll work just fine. But you're not going to be able to boot a game from a different storefront while on the front-loaded operating system. Now, the good news is, there's one thing though that I would assume will work, is if you compare to the Steam Deck, there's a lot of games that people can't run because of anti-cheat engines. I will assume that that's going to work fine on the Xbox Ally X because of the way that it's being implemented. So, that's something to look forward to for the people who play a lot of competitive games on those platforms. But past that, I mean, yeah, there's a lot more to talk about, and maybe someone else wants to pick up.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Zach? Are you on the same page there about learning more about the Xbox full screen mode, or did you get enough info for Gamescom?
I mean, I feel like probably got enough info for me personally. Like, I've ran, Bazite, whatever, on my OG Ally. I never ran it in full screen mode. I always went to desktop mode anyway. So it's not really a deal breaker for me. I'm trying not to pull a Windeck tech and jump ahead here, but there's a certain feature that if it works in desktop mode, I'm fine. If it doesn't, then what's the point for me personally? Like, I don't do Game Pass. I don't buy a lot of games on the Microsoft Store, if any. And so it needs to work with my Steam games or my GOG games or
now
my
you're
Epic games.
now you're definitely opening up that loop. We have to know what this feature is.
Yeah.
That's on your mind. What is this feature you're referring to?
This like shader compiling, whatever they're calling it specifically. Yeah,
But
Right.
basically what the Steam Deck has to do because of Vulkan.
but wouldn't that be when you're purchasing games from Game Pass purchasing or from the Windows Store, right? They will be the ones providing the pre-cached shaders. Is
Yeah,
that
I mean, I guess that's how it would work. Yeah. I didn't get a lot of info on it, so I just know that that was a thing. And yeah, if it only works with their games, then it's definitely a deal breaker for me.
I see?
I feel like Jeeve might be able to fill us in a little bit more on this though. What
Yeah.
what have you got for us, Jeeve?
Yeah, so what he's referring to is what they're calling advanced shader delivery. Essentially, what's I know, right? But so essentially, what this advanced shader delivery will do is they will pre-compile a game shaders on their own server. So back at Microsoft HQ, we use Rage 2 as an example. That game shader is going to be pre-compiled in the background, and once the ROG Ally X whatever goes to download that game, the hardware IDs match. It says, okay, here's the shaders for your Z2E AI GPU.
Oh wow.
And it's already pre-compiled. Now, as you alluded to, Steam has already been doing this in Linux as a whole for a while now. This is not new special Microsoft technology. They're actually very late to the game. And to piggyback off of what you're saying, they technically could do it. Actually, device side. I know Steam does this for some games that are really popular. And actually, not on Steam, believe it or not. Some like apps that people sideload or whatever, they'll compile shaders on their side if they see a lot of people downloading it. I saw a news article about it a few years ago. Now, will Microsoft do this? Absolutely not. I don't. I don't believe so one bit. I think the shader delivery will probably only be for a few select games rolling out, which I think is the big story, the big mistake. If this is not ready for like most of their lineup on the store, it's not going to look good for them. I'm telling you, it's not going to be good.
Phil, maybe you can expand on that thought a little bit more, G.
Yeah, of course.
Correct me if I'm mistaken about that, but based on the press release and what you're saying to us, is that they will do the shader compilation. We're not waiting basically the first time we're launching the game, but in any other situation, including on a Steam Deck, unless we've changed something with the game files, once the shaders have already compiled, we're launching into the same game at the same speed, at the same rate, as in we're not getting any benefit once from this advanced shader delivery once it's been done the first time. Is that
Yes, that's
correct?
correct. That's correct.
Right,
Once
right.
it's done,
Yeah. So right. So the I guess the story there is that you got your order of DoorDash. They didn't accidentally slip in an extra order of fries or anything like that. It's just that they delivered it a little bit early. I
Well,
think is what
exactly.
people should probably know.
The benefit is there. The benefit is in time and
yes.
also consistency, because if you have to change your drivers, technically speaking, you have to reproduce your shaders. So because they'll be pre-populated, you're never going to run into that issue where you got to wait 15 minutes for your Monster Hunter Wilds to boot.
Yeah, it's definitely not nothing. You're right, and especially in the context of Monster Hunter Wilds, which on handheld, last time I checked, can probably be compiling shaders for maybe 2 Speedcast episodes. Depends on which one you're watching. But I mean, yeah, it has some kind of value. But as Jeeve said, I would agree. I think that if they are not doing this for a vast majority of their library, like that's a mistake. Not only because it's a worse experience for consumers, but because I mean, you're kind of promising and not really delivering. And I'm sure everyone would agree here. I always tell people that they shouldn't be buying something on the hope of some kind of feature or functionality. It should be what the device or product does now, right?
you, you
Anything
know
that
what
you get after that is a bonus.
you know what that reminds me? You guys remember the whole thing with Crackdown 3?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Okay, so to chime you in, guys, Microsoft back in the day when they announced Crackdown 3, they did a whole press conference about the fact that they were going to optimize and add computational power on the game essentially through the cloud. So logically speaking, if you boot the game today, it's going to be super powerful because the computers are so much stronger. Uh,
What's wrong? Seriously, auto updating now? Fuck Microsoft!
Fuck Microsoft.
Crackdown. I was not there to witness this. It sounds like buffoonery, but it sounds like I also missed quite the party there with that. So in the context of them not delivering what other features that they can offer. Let's go back to the whole idea of the Z2 Extreme AI. Now, one thing that they sort of teased, but we also kind of already heard about before, is this AutoSR or Auto Super Resolution feature. It currently is only available on Copilot Plus PCs that are on Windows ARM, so Snapdragon CPUs.
Yes.
It is supposed to be rolled out afterwards, but I think that there's like little to no information on that. But Jeeve, do you know more about that that we don't know?
Yes. And this is funny. So I have very little development experience with Qualcomm upscalers. I use their GSR on mobile platforms, and I tried to use AutoSR via Microsoft's own plugins and whatnot. It does not work very well. It's like it's like FSR1 levels of upscaling. And again, this goes back to Microsoft has a history of introducing these technologies that sound great that they do nothing with. Crackdown 3 is a very mild example. One that's more pressing to me has been GPU decompression, which was introduced for the Xbox Series consoles and was supposed to pretty much revolutionize the way memory bandwidth was used. And I'm seeing them kind of use this exact same language with this new ROG Xbox Ally, and it's making me a little nervous, right? What I feel like is going to happen is, especially with AutoSR, the technology gets introduced, it's half baked, documentation is not there, and developers cannot take advantage of it. Now, from what I've been told and like people I've talked to, it seems like Microsoft kind of wants to be more hands-on, sort of take the NVIDIA approach as far as this technology is concerned, and kind of bake it into Windows itself. I can't speak so much for the handheld, but at least on the Windows side, it's dead in the water. It really is. I mean, launching it with Qualcomm was the mistake. You know, Qualcomm didn't even have GPU drivers for the first 6 months of X Elite, and they're still behind in driver development. So this is not a good sign. Them saying we're going to bring AutoSR to Handheld does not make me feel good at all. This is a death knell for me. Bad omen.
It's funny that you phrase it that way because part of me was also I borrowed Clef's tinfoil hat for a moment when he was suggesting that Xbox full screen mode might be some kind of exclusive deal with Asus, and I was thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe this AutoSR thing is a Qualcomm thing too. Like they had an agreement with Qualcomm, and now it's running its course or it's expired, and so now they're saying, hey, let's roll this out now to particularly interested parties for this Xbox full screen mode. And for all we know, it is literally just a rebranded FSR1, which is also, Metal FX for Apple or Mac users out there, also an FSR. And
Just
it
open
it
source
doesn't it
technology.
doesn't yeah, and it doesn't help developers because there's really no documentation on it and there's no real good way to implement it. And for those who haven't really been following the whole like upscale and AI type fake frames scene, and I don't blame you for that. The idea though is supposed to give us not necessarily more performance, but give you more for like what you have currently, right? So motion fluidity is something that a lot of people talk about. So when it comes to the fake frames, it'll look smoother, it won't feel smoother. And that's like
Right.
the big distinction, right? And so if they can't get this right though, what is the NPU being used for? What is the AI in the Z2A actually mean? Clef, do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, if anything, it would be external solutions. I mean, we are still running on AMD APU. So while I would assume that Auto SR is going to be mainly something that will be the Xbox full screen experience, technically we still have, on the other side of things, when running desktop, you'll still have lossless scaling, you'll still have FSR. So I would assume that that NPU is going to be more than useful there. Um, but as far as like AutoSR in particular, to be honest, I haven't had the opportunity to play with it. I've done a lot of upscaling and frame generation, but not with that specific approach. But I just want to put out there that Qualcomm does have frame generation and upscaling techniques used on some collaborator phones, and it's working fine there. So, I want to question, is it really a Qualcomm issue or is it a Microsoft issue on the X Elite? And the other thing is AutoSR, if you don't know, for the viewers, it's going to be running as I understand it, it's a solution that is not going to be specific to games. It's going to be like the entire operating system as a whole, which means that if you look to NVIDIA in comparison, that really took the time to have different profiles for specific games based off of how the pipeline goes. If Microsoft doesn't do that, then who's to say that we're going to have an experience that will be consistent across the board when jumping from one game to another? So, I, look, and as was said, I believe it's not going to be on launch. Personally, it's something I'm looking forward to because I'm super excited for frame gen, for upscaling techniques, but this is also something I'm not leaning on in my decision specifically for that device. If anything, to anyone watching out there, I'd say lean more on FSR or lossless scaling, or the one you mentioned earlier in private settings, Gamers Generation OptiScaler, I think, is one that I have to study. I haven't played with it at all, but yeah, that's my take on AutoSR.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned OptiScaler and lossless scaling, because it's also interesting, and I'm sure Jeeve has some thoughts about that too, as to how these I mean, they're not open source, but they're pretty small run or like sole developers, as I understand, and they can somehow do a better job than like these big mega corporations. And that's I'm not going to say shocking in a way, but maybe disparaging if you're like a fan of Xbox, if you're a fan of Microsoft, and you're thinking like, why can't they get their shit together? Like when we're talking about auto SR, as I understand it, the way that Clef painted is was correct, and also it's supposed to be at the system level, so it's supposed to upscale essentially anything. But if you've also kind of followed some of the NVIDIA and the AMD kind of pipeline and how they use their upscaling technology, they have like video super resolution, RTX super resolution, I think it's called, or VSR. Like they've had these technology for the past couple of years or so, and they've been leveraging the GPUs to do this already. It's not something that like Windows is making up by themselves to access the GPU. So I mean, the bulk of the heavy lifting in that context has already been done by these manufacturers or companies. And as last I checked, Intel also even has this too. So with XELL, I think it is, right? So yeah, what are they doing? I don't know. Like Zach, what are they doing? Are they just counting money over there, or what's happening?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just like throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those. I mean, especially with like this AutoSR or whatever. I mean, even like AFMF, version 1 was not great. 2 was better. I mean, so I mean, it's definitely maybe that sort of thing. Like, hopefully they stick with it and it gets better. But I don't know. It's
So
yeah.
if I may interject here, if you're watching this and you're being downed by us talking about different upscaling techs, just know that it's pretty impressive what can be done to this day. And when we're talking handhelds, we are talking about a format where you have to make sacrifices, you have to compromise on the power that you have at hand. And yes, to what Gamers Generation said earlier, it will not like push you a generation ahead, and you will actually have to use performance to be able to have frame gen and upscaling technique, but ultimately it'll push you a little further into getting better performance. What we are talking about here is if auto SR is going to feel like motion judder in TVs from 15 years ago, and if it is the case, it's going to be painful because that latency is going to hurt. But just don't get your hopes down. There are other options, at least on the operating system side of things, where you don't have to rely on Microsoft. You don't even have to rely on AMD. You have a lot of great software developers out there that have our backs. Thank you. So yeah.
That's Tony Stark in the cave.
Yep.
Pretty much.
They can do it better. And I mean, this might be a conversation for another time, but I mean, I think it's maybe just because like if you're doing like like a one-man job, like you're putting your heart and soul into it, where like say somebody at some big corporation might just be, well, I'm just doing this because this is what the boss wants, or something like that. I don't know.
I do think you're alluding to something.
Or they're getting railroaded when they're trying to do anything, and then it's like, well, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to do the bare minimum and get my check and go home, whatever.
Hey, they get paid by the hour over there, probably. I think I think you're all alluding to something that's interesting in the context of, we're all tech enthusiasts here in this space, and given the name of this channel, last time I checked, unless we're revolting and not buying any more handhelds, it's still about the enthusiasm for handhelds. So I do have to ask. I mean, for the people who are interested in this device, and we know that for some, this panel notwithstanding, there's lots of people who are big fans of the original ROG Ally, the 7-inch display. It's a beautiful display. And what looks like the improved ergonomics on the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X. There, and not to mention the 60 watt hour battery and the 80 watt hour battery. Those are improvements there too. So there's something there to look forward to. And this idea of Tony Stark building an Iron Man suit in a cave, like, you're not beholden. That This is the luxury and beauty of these devices. You're not beholden to Xbox full screen mode. In the same way that eventually, when this Xbox full screen mode is available to all handhelds, so is Bazzite, so is Steam OS, so available for this device. So I do have to wonder and ask all of you, like, what do you think they have to get right about this launch? Like, whether that's the delivery, whether that's the price, like, what is it?
so so if I start personally, I think they need to start leaning a little more into the hardware that this, and I'm not talking about like the board, the chip. I'm talking about like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but doesn't the, I don't know if both of them, but the Ally X has hair triggers, right? Seem to remember that it does, but like the grip, the panel, I mean, personally, I was not a big fan. Like, it's a mean to an end. It's nice that it's landscape. It's nice that it's VRR, but like, there's so much better out there that I don't know that it's the thing to lean on. But those grips, like, have put people in front of a camera that look good, that are actors, saying how it's comfortable. Like, sell me this thing. Sell me the joy of playing on this device, because the reality is we have so many options to choose from nowadays. And because it's been such an aggressive market, people are jumping from one device to the next. So if you look at the secondhand market, you can also get a lot of great options that are a smidge away from in terms of power for so much less. So what do you do? What do you tell me, the buyer, to convince me that I'll have a better experience on your device? And I think some of the things that they should lean on are the hardware benefits, because we all know, as you said, we're all tech enthusiasts and we all have handhelds. These things are heavy. These things are like not necessarily the most comfortable to play on. So if you play on a handheld, a PC handheld, right from the jump, you are compromising in some capacity. So what is the Xbox Ally X doing to make it so that that compromise is at least not as felt as much? What are you doing to make me more comfortable when I get into my gaming? And I think if they can lean on that, they can speak to something that the handheld PC scene does need until what's the word, the writings of the SoCs get smaller and less heat, less need for battery. We're not there yet. So in the meantime, at least give me comfort. That's it.
What do you think, Chief?
For me, kind of to curtail off of that, not so much comfort. I would say more that the delivery of the experience has to be top notch. Even around launch, when you picked up an original Steam Deck, you just knew there was something different about this. The ease of getting into a game was phenomenal. You just press play, boom, I'm in there, and it's improved tenfold since then. So that has to be top notch, even if it's a little bit more than people are comfortable paying for. I think that can be written off if you can just pick this thing up, sign in to what you need to sign into, and then boom, I'm in. Like 5 minutes, I'm in. Shader delivery is perfect. I don't have to wait for things to compile. There's no stutters. I don't have to turn on any kind of frame metrics. I can just play the game and enjoy it. So if they can like really cut down the time and the friction that it takes us normal guys on desktops and whatnot to boot into games and play, I think that'll go a long way to cementing this as, one of the mainstays in the handheld community.
I like those points that you both made there. Zach, what do they got to do? What do they need? What does Phil need to get your money?
I'm gonna say price.
They're gonna have to do something to set themselves, like it's gotta have some sort of unique, and it's gotta be good, whether that's the software with this front end or any of these added, AI features or the advanced shader delivery. Like if it's, if it's something with the hardware with, this, using the MPU and the super resolution and yada yada, like something has to set it apart from everything else. Now, could either one of those things do it? Yes, it's still a little early to tell with those things. But also, yeah, it could be price. Like if they're coming in, if they come in at even $999, they're gonna absolutely penetrate the market with that pricing, because HX 370s, 11, 1200 right now, or any options, so they're gonna have to pick something and just go hard and make it like, this is why you want to buy this thing. Just pick one thing. Don't try to be a jack of all trades. Like, pick something and just knock it out of the freaking park. That's what they're gonna have to do.
I got you. I got you on the hard and deep part there. I know.
Super quick.
Yeah.
Doing something to set themselves apart, like being able to run your Xbox consoles bought games on the handheld, maybe. No.
So you, sir, now are doing a Windows tech. But I'll thank you that one for that one, because that's fine, because there's something that our good friend Joe had brought up to me in a conversation that we had privately, and it bothered him about the disparity or the disconnect between the Xbox consoles and PC, let's say. So there is something I don't know, because I'm clearly not an Xbox gamer, at least not since the last time my 360, I think, red ringed or something. So yes, what is that bridge? Someone take me through it.
So essentially, there are, okay, so if we just think Game Pass, okay, let's start with that. Game Pass, Microsoft a while back has announced that if it's on Game Pass Xbox, it's on Game Pass PC, it's cross-playable, cross-save, at least for most titles, it should be. So if we take that specifically, technically, it's not really an issue because you're running on a PC. But the thing is, if you buy a game on your Xbox console, you're still buying an Xbox license. And so it would be logical to think that you're buying an Xbox device, being especially one that you expect to pay at least 2 times more than the console you've had for the last 5 years. You would think that you would be able to play the games that you have purchased. Because if you're the one person that is an Xbox diehard fan and you have the latest device from Xbox and this is who you rock with, you essentially have to either not be able to sell your console to try to get some money back, or you have to just say goodbye to the games that you purchased on that console, because you're not going to be able to use that license to be run even on the front loaded Xbox full screen experience. And that's where, in my opinion, there is a massive disconnect. And on top of that, I want people to remember that, wasn't it 10 years ago that they were all clamoring, yes, we are now moving to PC architecture, is going to be like a PC, your console.
Yep. Preach, brother. Preach.
I'm done.
Yep. Yeah.
Their attempt there clearly was coming from the console side and trying to penetrate the PC market, but it was kind of the opposite, I guess, intention. They pulled out prematurely, I guess, in that sense. The problem that I see is I think that's one area they could definitely plug, as you said. To paraphrase you, Clef, I think that if they can get this buy-in from current Xbox users, that would be like a huge upsell. Like, imagine if you are a current Xbox Series S or Series X owner, and you buy this new Xbox Ally, and essentially you have a library already, like, ready to go because you bought all these Xbox games. Yeah, that would probably sell me. And I think that would sell me on either, even the Z2A or the Z2E. The Z2E probably actually getting even closer to like a Series X experience that you can have on the go. That, if anything, is what was missing from the PS Portal, and why people were saying, okay, yeah, the PS Portal, this thing's dumb. Like, do I really want, a $250 accessory for, my PS5? Now, mind you, we're talking $250. These things are going to be at least double that. So, it's a different type of product, and maybe it's not so fairly compared. But I do think that experience is something that could be comparable, right? Because we're talking about primarily a console user base that is they're trying to tap. So, I mean, on this idea, I mean, Jeeve, would you mind sharing with the audience what you had talked about right before we went on live stream? Because Clef was kind of alluding to it there. These things, they should all work in terms of like cross save and things like that, but that may not actually be the case.
Oh, you talking about the Jedi Survivor thing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so okay, guys. Going back to when the Xbox Series X came out, I had bought Jedi Survivor. I think I put about 60 hours into it on the Series X. Because reasons, I lost the console. Later got Game Pass on PC, and wouldn't you know, Jedi Fallen Order. Oh yeah, Jedi Fallen Order was on it. I was like, oh, dope. So I go there and I download the game, and I'm like, wait a minute, my save didn't carry over. And then I'm looking and it's like, oh, there's this little fine print line that draws a line between the PC version of the game and the Xbox version of the game. Even though it was the same edition, the same game, I cannot transfer my save over. And the language for me, I at least felt was very opaque. It was like, wait a minute. I thought you said these games would transfer over, it was the same experience. But no, it wasn't. And that's a really frustrating thing to deal with because now I have to start over again. Granted, the game was still on Game Pass. I guess I didn't pay for it again, but that's 60 hours lost that I still can't transfer over. And I think that's a huge thing. Maybe if it's only for, let's say, 100 games out of the 5,000 in the library, that's still a problem, I would say. That's not an insignificant amount.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, I get Game Pass, I get subscription. You want to get my money all year round, okay? But let's be real. Games also come and leave from Game Pass, and
They do.
obviously, the goal of that service is to yes, get you into the ecosystem, yes, get a perpetual revenue, but it's also to have you try a game almost as a form of a long form demo. And if you feel like you don't need it anymore, you don't need it. But for sure, there has got to be people that ended up thinking, I really like this game. It's going away. Let me just go ahead and buy it because it's on sale right now. And they're losing all that. And dang. And then on top of that, losing their saves. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and I've dealt with that, the game part. Just really quick. I was playing Chris Tales on Xbox Game Pass and saw that it was going away. And I guess I'm in the minority. I was like, well, am I going to buy it on Game Pass or will I buy it for 30% off on Steam? I bought it on Steam for 30% off. So I think that's something else they got to look at too. It's like, I mean, how are you really going to entice people to actually make purchases on this, especially if they can get it from cheaper somewhere else?
Yeah,
Sarabon said we can play it on the cloud though, but
correct me if I'm wrong though, but I think when I had Game Pass, it seemed like when something was about to come off of it, they would run a big sale on it, wouldn't they?
of course, that's the goal.
So like, yeah, it's like, oh, hey, we've been getting you for, $20 a month for this last 12 months. You've been playing this game, you're what? You're $240 in at that point. Oh, well, hey, why don't you buy this game for $30? It's a little even.
Yeah. So, I mean, while
Just
we're
one
playing,
last little hand in the pocket right before, right out the door.
that's exactly it. And I mean, while we're playing the sunken cost game, I personally feel that's exactly why, as an example, like I have so many games on my Steam library because the Steam cloud actually just works so well. And I'm sure all of you could agree, and even those out there watching in the audience, if you have more than one device, like this is the luxury that you have with Steam. You don't have to worry about your saves for the most part. I think like probably a good 90 odd percent of games will just work where you just carry it over. Of course, if you didn't log off the game or whatever, you might get this thing that says like cloud sync error, but that's also great because it tells you that your saves are not synced. And that to me is really hard to pull away from Steam for that reason. Now I know for a lot of games, because these save files are saved locally also on your device, like you could go and you can do some investigative work and then go and pull your save from somewhere. But similar to what I've said about, like, buying used or refurb devices, like, some people just don't want to do that, right? And I get that. I'm not going to like fault you for saying that, you don't want to go and dig up your file. I get that. But to, I think, everyone's point here as well, that's part of the hard sell. Once you're in the ecosystem and they want you in the ecosystem, as Clef said, like, it's hard to pull away from that. But if they're not keeping you in the ecosystem by not having your saves shared or whatever, I think that's really a big miss on Xbox and Microsoft's part.
This is a big miss, and it is also, even, I will dare say, dangerous for their model. I know they haven't been necessarily focused on selling games on Xbox as much, and I get why they wouldn't. But the fact is still that you will have people that have built a library and they're attached to that library. And right now you're telling them, hey, how about you drop that library? Come over to the PC side. It's like, you would think that it would be either the main console slash handheld, or it would be a great companion. But right now, the companion is about as legitimate as your phone, because they're literally, and if you didn't pick up on it, I said Sarah Bond said, if you want to play your Xbox game, you got to do it on xCloud. Literally, that's what she said in the promotional take. So yeah, it's something it's food for thought, as they say.
No, you're absolutely right about that, Clef. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like if people are watching, if Sony is watching, they would be ones they should probably pay attention to that aspect, because, as we know, they're releasing all of their games on PC just as a timed release. And we recently got a rumor, not to maybe this is a kind of preview for a future Speedcast episode. There's been like lots of rumors about, this new PS5 PS6 handheld, and I think that would be a massive miss for them to miss out on that, like, save optimization, the cross save functionality, right? um but before we wrap up tonight, I do have to ask you guys, what's the price that they have to hit here to get people sales, you think? Particular let's just do both models. Zach, can I start with you?
Uh, I mean, for the X, $9.99. I mean that's gonna be. I mean that would be like PlayStation coming in, $5.99 or $4.99 or whatever. That little marketing thing. If they just came in and just said $9.99 at a freaking press conference and then walked out, dropped the mic, whatever, like that's gonna be a big one. The Xbox Ally non-X, that's a tougher one. Fine. I mean, I'm trying to think of it, like that's gonna have to compete with Switch 2. I mean, it's still the Steam Deck.
Yeah, the Steam Deck.
Price wise, like it's gotta be low.
Yeah. What about you, Jeeve? What do you think?
All right. I'm tired of giving these multi-billion-dollar companies a pass. That top end SKU has got to come in at least, I would say at most, excuse me, $8.99. I think more than that, and they're just playing for margin. No, it's got to come in $8.99 at most, and I think that's fair for the hardware on offer. Not even getting a full 32 gig. I mean, cut down Strix Point, guys. Let's be real now. It's downclocked, cut down Strix Point that's been out for over a year at this point. I'm not giving them any it's not special silicon. It's not. And then for basically the rebadged Steam Deck, dude, that's got to be like at most $4.99. You, I mean, because what are we doing here? Like they came out and they did, and I know for a fact that the reason they came out and made a hype about all these hardware features and whatnot is because they are trying to condition us to charge more than it's worth. The top end SKU is not worth more than 900. The low end SKU is not worth more than 500 USD. I think that's fair for the rebadged silicon that we're getting. Again, it's rebadged, it's not bespoke, it's not special. This stuff has already been out for a while now, and I will not take any mum from Microsoft about it.
All right. So I saved you, Mr. Clef, for last because I know you have penetrating ideas about this pricing. And I also want to say that I might I might be on the same wavelength as you, because there was something I said on a previous Speedcast episode that I'm kind of rethinking my thought process there. But I want to hear what you think the prices will be.
So G's took the answer out of my mouth with a lot more volume to it because it was brilliant what you had to say. But I would say also 8.99 for different reasons. One, because they already, that price was already leaked by Best Buy. So whether that was supposed to be the price, not supposed to be the price, this guy didn't talk to that guy, not my problem. The world knows, first and foremost. Second, outside of the world knows, we also know how you are not catering to Xbox gamers in a way that a lot of Xbox gamer expected to be catered to. So I think that has a cost. I think that has a price, and that price is less profit. Now, what sucks is that I will expect that the company that will end up making less profit because of that is going to be Asus. And in this specific scenario, I don't think it's fair on them. But hey, you get in bed with who you get in bed with, like that's the name of the game. Like, of course there's going to be, both sides are going to pull at each other. It's a tug war. So at the end of the day, maybe it'll be a good deal for Asus, maybe it won't, time will tell. But I do think that in my personal opinion, the reason why the price was pulled was that reason. Microsoft was like, yeah, no, it's 8.99. Asus was like, are you crazy? We're not going to make money. And that, in my opinion, that's what it is. Probably not literally, but it's a little bit of that. It's internal battles, and not my problem. Not my problem. Not any consumer's problem. If the price is not right, um, I do believe that it's gonna definitely hurt the sales. So they're gonna have to work hard on the marketing machine. Hit me up. No, but all joking aside,
You're gonna have to dance for both Asus
right?
and Phil for that one in that case, Cliff.
I would
But
dance for Sarah Bond. I will say that much. I'm sorry. That being said, talking about the lower SKU, I agree with Jeeve. If we think that the Steam Deck started at $399, I do believe that even though it is a rebadged, slightly, overclocked, whatever, however you want to put this, I do believe that there is more to that device to warrant a slightly increase in price, at least in terms of the perception. Maybe not the actual value, but at least in terms of the perception, I think it's fair to charge a little more. But past $499, I hope people are going to be well educated on what they're buying if it is $599, because they're getting penetrated. It was my time
well
to
put.
punch it in.
Yes. Well put.
I
Yeah,
know.
and that was something that I was alluding to when I asked you earlier. I've had a kind of change of heart, if you will. I had said that I think that at that price, $5.99 or even $6.99 for the base Xbox Ally, that product is dead in water. But there is such a thing, as we know, in terms of marketing, as a kind of dummy product that they're trying to upsell you on the higher SKU, right? So I do think that there is a distinct possibility that they play this kind of short game, and we've seen this kind of game happen
PS5.
on PS5, and
Yeah.
primarily it happens on the GPU side of things. But I would not at all actually be shocked if the Xbox Ally X does come in at $899, the same price as the original Ally X, because the Ally X technically was a $799 product that they bumped up to $899 a couple months ago. And then this way they can Asus can drop down the Ally X price back down to $799 to make it look like a sale. Sorry, Asus, that's marketing. And this way they can look at this as, an upsell for the Xbox Ally X. But I would even go out on even further limb and say I wouldn't be totally blown away if they somehow shock everybody and launch the Xbox Ally X at something like $799 for a short period of time. And the reason why I say a short period of time is use the same tactics that Nintendo and PlayStation are doing. If you've missed the news cycle recently, Sony has announced that PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Pros are going up in price, $50. I just checked; they're supposed to go up in price already by the time you're seeing this recording. But I see that they're still at it's still $699 for the PS5 Pro, but it's supposed to be 750. So I have a feeling maybe Sony is like subsidizing that for a little bit longer as they watch like the sales numbers. But like, would any of you at all be surprised if Microsoft said to ASUS, look, we know you're not making any money on these, so for the first 3 months or first 6 months, we're gonna pay some of that. Like, we will pay you guys $100, and they do this all the time. And NVIDIA does this all the time with their GPUs, and AMD does this too, right? They will even give the retailers like a kickback, $50 or $100 or whatever, to drop the price for a short period of time, and then they increase the price afterwards. Like, we're seeing all the companies increase their prices, so I don't see why they wouldn't do this as a kind of buy-in to get the device into people's hands, build up the hype, that marketing machine that Clev was talking about, and then the thing starts selling itself. After that, if it's $100 difference, people are like, oh man, I heard such good things. I heard that this is like the best, handheld there is out there now. But it's not $799 anymore. It's $899. Oh, well, I'll just pick up another shift at work or whatever. Like, people will do the mental gymnastics to get
or
that purchase.
they're gonna go from giving you 1 month of Xbox Game Pass bundle to 3 month. Here
There you
goes
go.
your $100 value. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
looking to the system even longer.
Yeah.
Yay!
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't put that past them at all. So I guess don't be surprised if that is what happens, right? Or actually, to Clef's point, I think Clef gave me an idea too. Here's a free Xbox Elite controller bundled in, right? Like,
Ooh.
right? So
yeah.
now you can play with your friend.
Dude,
Right.
if they do that, like $799 and $899, you get that Raikiri 2 Pro controller.
Oh, I don't think they're gonna do Raikiri 2. No. I think Raikiri 2 is too much. No. That's
Man,
I don't think
don't know.
ASUS
The only way I can see, yeah, the only way I could see any of those numbers making sense, at least in my head, is just because we're right around holiday season. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just still being a Debbie Downer, but
No, but that
that's the only thing I can think of. Like, we can throw all this stuff at it. It's coming out in October, and then that's holiday season. Right around the corner after that. I could see it dropping that low, but otherwise, I don't know.
But that's a
I
great
can wish
point,
that it's
actually.
$8.99, but I just, yeah,
He's not
But-
feeling it.
I just feel like it's gonna be bad.
But if they do that, because you do have a great point, and let's not forget, a launch window is not day one, right? It's like a couple of months. So if they release at
Yeah.
$899, then 1 month later, Black Friday, all right, guys, we're going crazy, 100 off on the Xbox Ally X. People are like, oh my god, I've been watching all videos for a month, I want it now. Like, I could, what? That's a great point, Gamers Generation, and you too, and Stern. I think you guys brought a pretty sound strategy for ASUS and Microsoft. I could see that happen for sure.
Yeah, Sarah, call us. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one, or we'll catch you on Discord.
Peace.
Ciao.